The Roman soldiers had seen a lot of battles. Those in the throng were agitated. On the other hand, the criminals, well, who knows what their names were. Nevertheless, something about this time felt different. An ancient reverberation could be heard in the air. It was not out of reverence that a stillness descended over the hill outside of Jerusalem. Rather, it was due to something that cannot be explained. At the heart of it all was a man who had been badly battered, bruised and bloodied, but he seemed remarkably unruffled. It was Jesus of Nazareth who was his name. He'd never been wealthy. There is no army. There is no throne. However, his words had caused countries to be shaken and challenge those who were ruling. His touch had the power to heal the sick. His whisper had the power to quiet the storms, and he had the power to bring the dead back to life. And here he was, nailed to a rough Roman cross, surrounded by mockers who jeered, "If you are the Son of God, come down." And now, here he was. However, he did not. On the contrary, he glanced down at those who were carrying out his death and prayed, "Father, forgive them. They have no idea what they are doing." The fact that he was held there by more than nails. However, this was not merely a crucifixion. As the prophecy unfolded, this was the culmination of a heavenly rescue mission that had been planned from the beginning of time. The cross was neither a mishap nor a sorrowful occurrence. This action was deliberate. The message that was conveyed by each blow of the hammer was that love comes at a price, and Jesus came to pay that price in full. The religious leaders believed that they had stopped a rebel from speaking out. Rome believed that it had successfully put down a stir, but heaven was aware that this was the lamb that was sacrificed to pay for the sins of the entire world. The sky became more ominous. The ground is shaking. In the temple, the veil, which served as a symbol of the separation between God and humans, was torn from top to bottom. And as Jesus said, "It is finished," and took his final breath, the entire universe moaned from the depths of its being. Sin was brought to account, a hole had been made in death, and love had triumphed in a gruesome and deadly struggle. The calmness that prevails on Saturdays. It was a peaceful Saturday, overly silent. Everything continued as if nothing had changed in the world. Fear and grief rendered the disciples unable to move, so they hid. It was no longer their teacher. It was a tomb that was sealed with a stone, and it contained their hope. Even though he had once walked on water, the Messiah was now lying still in the gloom of death. It seemed to them that the story had come to an end. On the other hand, a countdown had started in heaven. God, on the other hand, had not given up, whereas man had given up. Saturday's lack of activity was not a sign of defeat. The pause that came before the greatest comeback in the history of the world was a heavenly one. The Sunday morning was the moment when everything began to change. In the early hours of Sunday morning, as the sun began to rise above the horizon, several women made their way to the tomb, taking spices with them to anoint the corpse of Jesus. It was a burden on their thoughts. What they discovered, however, rocked them to their very core. A roll was used to remove the stone. There were no guards present. The interior of the tomb was devoid of any contents. It was then that two luminous angels materialized, and their voices pierced the silence as they asked, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not present, he has risen from the dead." The feeling of hope raced through their hearts. Suddenly, the tears of grief transformed into cries of pleasure. The risen Jesus appeared to them at precisely the moment that they were running to inform the others about it. He was alive, dazzling, and triumphant over the graveyard. That the tomb was empty was not because the corpse had been stolen by someone else. Rather, it was because death was unable to contain him. The resurrected King will once more walk the earth. In the 40 days that followed, Jesus did not conceal himself. In the presence of his followers, hundreds of witnesses, and even those who had the biggest doubts about him, he made his appearance. Along with them, he ate, communicated with them. They were touched. There was no ghost in him. He was not a recollection. He had not passed away. He showed them the scars, not to remind them of the suffering that he had endured, but rather to indicate the price that they had to pay in order to be free. He managed to arouse something fresh within their hearts with every appearance. As opposed to the fear that had been present, there was now bravery. In the place where there had been sadness, there was now happiness. Why the cross is still relevant in today's world. Not only is this a matter of ancient history, there are many other meanings associated with the cross. Both a proclamation of love for you and a declaration of war against evil are contained inside this declaration. Despite the fact that he was defeated, Jesus did not pass away. Because you let your wickedness take control of you, he passed away. Furthermore, the only thing that could set you free is his perfect sacrifice. Every falsehood that you have bought into, every single error that you have made, every one of your sins, every regret that you tried to conceal, not with any reluctance, but with a ready heart, he accepted everything. Additionally, on that cross, he took your position in the world. For us to be able to be treated like the greatest of everything that he is, he was treated like the worst of us. The empty tomb is an invitation, as the saying goes. It is not enough for Jesus to have triumphed over death for himself. He also did it for you. The empty grave is a loud and clear message that your history does not have to determine your future. This indicates that there is salvation available to you, regardless of how damaged, lost, or unworthy you may feel. Because the same power that brought Jesus back from the dead is still at work in the world today, reviving dreams that had died, restoring hearts, healing wounds, and overcoming darkness. One unshakable truth is revealed by the cross and the empty tomb together, and that is that death is not the terminal point. Love has the final say in everything. This is the transformation of the disciples. Immediately following the resurrection, the disciples were no longer the same. Even though Peter had previously denied Jesus out of fear, he stood in front of thousands of people and confidently said, "God raised him from the dead, and we are all witnesses of it." At one point, Thomas, who had been struggling with uncertainty, knelt and screamed out, "My Lord and my God." People who were once cowards become courageous. Those who denied the truth eventually became those who defended it. Furthermore, here is the miracle. Jesus is the one who gives you the victory. It is not because you have earned it, simply because you are deserving of it. The reason for this is that he loves you more than you could ever hope to comprehend. Are you going to be blessed with victory? The story of the crucifixion is not merely something to be admired. Rather, it is an invitation. The call to let go of your feelings of guilt, to let go of your efforts to achieve, to be approved of forgiveness, to stroll in the freshness of life. It is also important to be aware that grace is available to you regardless of the actions you have taken or the places you have gone. Jesus did not remain motionless in the tomb. Furthermore, you do not have to remain in a state of anguish, shame, or fear. It is vacant within the tomb. Still living is the King. It is up to you to decide whether or not you want to accept the triumph. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. We'd love to hear from you.